In more time, the chairman was distracted for a moment by his incredible staffer behind him.
We were just commenting on how outstanding your questions were. All right, Ms. Pinkerton, let's go back to you for a minute. You noted that air traffic control systems cost the economy about $25 billion annually in delays. That's every single year. That's nothing to sneeze at. That is a significant thing. That's, I assume, taking into account the economic cost
of time.
People, sitting where they would be moving. So what impact do you think the modernization of air traffic control might have on that problem and on the market as a whole?
In fact, I heard Administrator Bedford at the U.S. Chamber a couple of weeks ago say that he thinks the economic benefit, I'm going to get his numbers wrong, but could be anywhere from almost $1 trillion over time, because you're not just stopping the delays and cancellations, you're building the system and allowing for more growth. And as you know, we drive 5% of the GDP, et cetera. So I'll get back to you on his exact numbers, but it is an enormous potential for economic benefit.
Okay. Because otherwise, you're just talking about delays because of administrative limitations on our ability to direct air traffic, whereas if we modernized it, you would have fewer of those.
Fewer of those, and the ability to grow
Yes.
instead of shrinking, which is what we're doing right now.
Right. So right now, we're acting as if the pie were limited or even a shrinking pie.
Correct.
Yeah. We've been forced into that. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Mr. Anderson, I want to go back to you for a second. In your opening testimony, you talked about some of the benefits of international joint ventures. Talk to us about that. And do you see the Caribbean, Canada, or Europe as additional markets that could benefit from value, ultra low cost, whatever you want to call this niche of the market, joint ventures going on in that area?
Senator, thank you for the question. We applied about 1,400 days ago for antitrust immunity with Viva Aerobus down in Mexico. And Mexico is the largest transporter international market. And what we were asking for is the ability to scale in size and compete with some of the larger carriers, the international carriers that, such as the legacy carriers that have these antitrust immunities. And so you mean the immunities in connection with the code share, the international code shares? Right, with partners. For example, there's several examples, I think dozens of them that exist today, international being a very important part of obviously the travel ecosystem. What we were looking to do was provide direct nonstop service from those communities that we serve that currently do not have it into some of those Mexican beaches, such as Cancun, Cabo, or Puerto Vallarta, and to do it at lower fares. It is the biggest impediment. What is the biggest impediment to that? Is it regulatory, or is it something in the market itself? In other words, is there a regulatory reason why it's harder for them to do it, or is it just less attractive for them to go to all the work to do it with a smaller carrier? I think for us, our view is entering in the international markets, such as Mexico for Allegiant, partnering with somebody like Viva, who has the know-how and experience in that market, we think will allow us to scale in size and be more successful when we go up against some of the larger legacy carriers in the similar markets. Is there also a part of the limitation that has to do with the airports that you fly? I mean, a lot of the airports that you service are not currently international airports. Does that contribute to the problem? In other words, do you have to have a presence from, I guess it would be CBP at that airport? Yeah, not all of our airports, given some of the communities we serve, have FIS clearance, which would allow for clearing customs, but there is a significant number of our airports that we could fly or add direct nonstop service into those Mexican beach destinations. Okay, but that will typically, in order for that to occur on the U.S. end, you'd have to have the involvement of both CBP
and DOT. Is that right? Do both entities have to approve designating something for international flights?
My understanding, and I apologize if I'm incorrect on this, but we are just waiting, or it's for the DOT that would approve.
DOT is the one that approves it. Okay. Got one other question, and then we'll turn to Senator Blumenthal. Mr. Biffle, a moment ago, you took me off guard when you said maybe we should have all airlines, regardless of size, legacy, value, ultra value, or whatever you call yourselves, should have full antitrust immunity. I did not expect that. That was not on my bingo card for today's hearing, particularly from a smaller carrier. Tell me why you say that and why you think that would enhance the state of competition in the industry.
Well, I took this hearing very seriously. I was flying out last night, and I thought about how do you get it where the small carriers can compete with the big four. And I came up with a couple of solutions, and I think that's one that would be very powerful. I'm not saying antitrust with the big four. I'm saying everybody else should work together to provide a real forcing mechanism to provide competition to the big four, and that would be a great way to do it.
But if nobody is subject to the antitrust laws at that point, the skeptic would say that's going to foster collusion.
Well, help me out with it. I mean, so a quarter of the market is controlled by one. There's three other carriers that are around the 20% mark. You've already got 20% being controlled by one entity. What's your problem with the small guys controlling 20%?
I mean, one could argue that moving forward, what that would do with respect to future proposed mergers and acquisitions. I mean, particularly if you're talking about full antitrust immunity from the full panoply of antitrust laws, there's no reason why you wouldn't see even more consolidation than we've had up until this point.
I don't know if you'd see more consolidation, but you'd see us work together better in airports. And you've got, let's take gates. You've got finite resources. If Greg and I were able to work together, our teams work together on coordinating schedules so that we better mash up our schedules so that we both run a better, reliable operation in fill-in-the-blank city, the big airlines get to do that. So I'm saying you've got a massive problem in this country where the big four scale is pushing down competition. If you want to give us a level playing field, give us a level playing field on the gates, give us a level playing field on competition, give us some kind of remedy to solve against the loyalty in the credit card. I mean, that was my other suggestion, is give our credit card customers access to the big networks at the same cost that they book for themselves in their accounting. So I'm just giving you real solutions. Look, I took it serious. You want more competition in the country, and I'm telling you these are things that are big issues. And I would throw you one more that's very low cost, much cheaper than the modernization of ATC and not well understood. When you have, look, we're going to have weather, especially in Florida, right? And so there's limited corridors, and we can modernize, but I don't think a lot of people realize that general aviation can manipulate the ATC capacity. So a private jet can actually go in, and when we have a scheduled flight at, say, 11 a.m., I can't file a flight plan for a different time. I have to file the flight plan for my scheduled time, right? So let's say Mr. Blumenthal has a private jet. He wants to fly at 11 o'clock. Maybe he doesn't, but I'm just saying, say he did, as an example. Well, what his
your
pilots...
lips to somebody's ears.
Right.
Well, maybe there's someone else, but I'm just using an example. So his pilots know he wants to go at 11. They know there's a 3-hour ground delay program. Well, his pilots will just file for 8 a.m. He shows up at the 11, never knows the wiser. They go take off. Meanwhile, I have to go through this airspace a couple times a day, and I blow up my crew, and then I have to cancel 2 flights with a couple hundred people on each. 400 people get inconvenienced. So 3 people could take a private jet. And this is happening every day in every major storm event for the Northeast and Florida, and this is what contributes to thousands of customers being canceled. And this is why I take real exception to people saying, oh, I should compensate them. No, I think the government should step in and look at all the places that I have to cancel a flight. Neither one of us ever want to cancel a flight. I don't want to harass customers. I don't want to cancel a flight, but I want to operate safely. There's never a time I'm going to want to inconvenience someone. There's generally a reason, and I think what you should look into is why. Why would we have to cancel at a higher rate? Take Atlanta. Let's talk about gates. So this summer, true story, I personally got involved. We had over 10 flights that had over 3-hour tarmac delays. Over 5 hours. I got on the phone personally with the airport control towers in the middle of this event because I was so upset about why can we have this delay. I'm on the phone with them. We had a medical emergency on a 5-hour delay. Medical emergency. Someone who had a heart issue. We got cleared by the tower to go. Our plane starts moving towards the gate, and an Alaska plane pulled in front of us and parked at the gate. We found out that Delta controls the ramp there, and they had cleared them. While we're trying to figure that out, Delta goes and takes another plane at another common use gate. This was just happening, and no one else experienced this kind of event. But we had a couple thousand customers that experienced over 3 hours, all because we don't have the same gate access. And while all this was going on, and I take real exception to her comment earlier about there's rules, Southwest Airlines has 4 flights per day, and during that event, Southwest gates were open. I had customers and employees taking pictures, so I've got people, even including a medical
It's in an
emergency.
area where they have exclusive ownership of the.
They got exclusive ownership of the gate, and the minimum use is only 4 flights a day in Atlanta. They can control a gate with 4 flights. And yet I'm using the equivalent of 10 to 12 flights. Anyway.
Okay, I apologize to Senator Blumenthal. I didn't intend to eat up that much time. You're up to bat. Thank you. And I'm going to give you all the time you want now, both because I feel bad and I want to ride on your plane someday. So,